before, after the Celtics' dominant 25-point win over the Cavs in Game 1, the C's taking their foot off the gas in Game 2. The result, a 24-point road win for Cleveland as they tie the series at 1. Chris Forsberg writing the following on NBCSportsBoston.com. Hi, I'm Chris, and I ride the Celtics roller coaster. One day, the Celtics look invincible, and we're scouting routes for the next duck boat parade. The next, I'm tearing out my hair, great hair, by the way, you're welcome, over the team's variable intensity level. It's a vicious cycle. Forsberg adds, a team like Minnesota is trying to smother its opponents and hound them into submission. The Knicks seem to bring relentless energy despite Tom Thibodeau's penchant for leaning heavily on his core players. The Celtics sometimes feel like the kid reaching for the reset button on the Nintendo when things get rough early. Love the 90s flashback. Welcome in, Trenni Casey here alongside our Phil Perry and our Celtics insider, Chris Forsberg. Go ahead, Chris. I know you got to put pen to paper, but let it out for the people. What was so frustrating for you last night?
You know, and I don't like to do this because, well, I kind of like to do this, but, you know, because you saw last round, right? I lost my mind after Game 2. What do? They come back, win 3 in a row. Everyone's like, look, you fool. You lost your mind for no reason. Maybe I'll do the same here. But it's troubling to me that we keep coming back to this, that it has to be a discussion after every couple games. I don't know why they keep hitting the same speed bumps in the road, why they can't learn from some of their past transgressions. And the one thing I keep trying to tell people is, didn't hurt when it happened against Miami. It might not hurt when it happened against Cleveland. It's going to hurt at some point, right? Like, go back to 22, ran out of gas in the finals against the Golden State Warriors. Go back to 23. Put yourself in a Game 7 situation where Jason Tatum turns an ankle and now you're losing that one. It might just come up and creep up on you, and at the worst possible moment. So I just hope they understand there is a value to staying locked in, which ironically they were for much of the regular season, and yet here it is in the playoffs.
It's a habit, Chris, that they can't seem to kick. This is who they are. I wonder if this is something that they can fix mid-playoff run, because I'm with you. I think at some point this is going to catch up to you. It wasn't just that they lost to an inferior team. It was the way in which they lost. Effort should never be in question, especially in the postseason, especially at home. In the second round, they were out-rebounded by double digits. Trenni, they allowed 36 points in the paint in the first half alone. This is not who the Celtics should be. It's not who I think they are. But if this shows up again, maybe more than once, against a better team, that could be the end of their season. That's why people, I think, rightfully look at a game like last night and have some concerns. Can
I pile on? And the piling on would be not being able to adjust when things aren't going your way. Like, not every night are you going to hit 50% from beyond the arc. We've seen that there have been times that they can find other ways to win, that they can impact the game. They can get offense from their defense. They're not doing that. And that, I think, might be what's most frustrating, is that for a team that's supposed to be championship caliber, this is a team that perfect analogy. Oh, things aren't going really well. Beep, we'll just hit reset and I'll start Duck Hunter all over again.
You like Duck Hunter?
I like Duck Hunter.
That was a very gentle way of doing it. Usually when you want to restart, I mean, you're throwing a controller, you're breaking a screen.
You're also blowing into the tape.
It's much more violent than that. Yeah.
Well, several things, as we just laid out, to be upset about last night. The defense allowed a postseason high 118 points. On offense, the C's shot just 8 for 35 from 3. And with another home loss, the C's are 17-18 in their last 35 playoff games at the Garden. Not good enough. But here's what Brian Scalabrine and Eddie House were most upset about last night on Celtics Postgame Live.
There was no heart today. There was no.
They didn't play hard enough. In my book,
there's nothing. They were just playing versus trying to win. Like, there's winning basketball. Your back is against the wall. I didn't see much of that today.
No force.
It looked no force, no purpose.
That's an indictment, too, because, listen, Eddie and Scal, I think, Chris, are always truthful about this team and what they need to do. But I don't think there is any greater insult than saying you didn't play with heart and purpose. People, you can lose games. You can not shoot well. You can just have an off night. That's all excusable. But coming out and not playing with energy and heart and purpose, that's inexcusable, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, I remember back in 2008, that team, like, the thing was always Doc would never call them soft because KG would lose his mind. He hated that inference that they were, somehow not tough, not gritty, not the harder playing team. And so, like, you couldn't even, like, bring that up. And sometimes I look at this team and I'm like, I don't know. When they get punched in the mouth, they don't always respond the way it did, or at least not in the moment. It takes a game for them to come back. And maybe that's enough because they dusted themselves off well last round and came back. Game 3, I was like, wow, this is a totally different team. And yet I don't understand why it takes for them to get kind of shoved around, for them to kind of find that response. And so I think that's what does come down to me. You could just tell from the start last night they didn't have it. And as soon as they started missing threes, it just leaks into the defensive side. I should have known in the first 2 minutes like which Celtic team we're going to get and what kind of night it's going to be. And someone's got to rescue them in that moment. Who's going to be the guy that says, this is unacceptable? Jaylen Brown said it after the game. I'd like some of the superstars, and I know, Trenni, you're going to go off on this in a little bit, but I need their superstars to be like, I'm going to fix that right now.
Well, what's interesting to me, and maybe just as concerning, is what Chris is talking about. Do we have to wait until they get smacked in the face before they actually turn their game around? It's almost the opposite of that. It's that it seems as though no team buys into their press clippings more than your Boston Celtics. Because when they do well and they blow a team out, it's the opposite. It's not that they need to get smacked in the face. It's that they're just resting on their laurels. They're assuming whatever happened in Game 1 in this instance is going to happen again in Game 2. The Ringer had a great stat today. Going back the last 5 years, they're 18-22 against the spread after just having won and covered. They're 4-5 against the spread after just having beaten a team by 20 points. When things are going great, they throttle back, and they've been doing it forever. It's part of the DNA of this team, and that is the concern.
Yeah, and that DNA might cost them a title. All right, speaking of lines, it is time for Storylines, presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. With Fanatics Sportsbook, you can earn up to 5% fan cash back on your bets. Spend fan cash on jerseys, fan gear, bonus bets, and more. Plus, get a personalized offer every day with Power Hour rewards. Scan the QR code on the bottom right of the screen to download the app today. Game 3, Saturday night in Cleveland. Celtics are 8.5-point favorites, minus 350 on the money line, so not everyone's panicking about the Celtics Game 2 loss. How do you think they respond, Phil?
I think they'll respond well after all of us, all this bloviating that we'll do here and all the complaining that we'll have. They have also tended to show, at least lately, that they can bounce back. Again, it's not about this series. What they showed last night is not about this series. It's about what's to come, because we all assume they'll take care of business this series, they'll move on, and they'll play a better team. It's what they do against that better team. And
I laugh at the number because if they win by 20-something, right? It's not, they haven't played a close game on either side throughout this playoff, so I feel pretty good about that. And yet, I do think, okay, what if Jared Allen starts looking like he might come back in the series? Dean Wade just got upgraded. Like, these things are little, but now you give this team a whole bunch of confidence going back home. And I don't think we've seen the big Donovan Mitchell game yet. He's been great in both these games, but I think there's a bigger night looming. And so I just think you got to kind of brace yourself. This is going to be a little bit more gritty than maybe we all thought after Game 1.
I was going to say, I do wonder now. I had said Celtics in 5. I wonder if it's more like Celtics in 6, because the Cavs stole one. They were terrible on the road. Now they've stolen one on the road. All right, Celtics-Cavs series does shift to Cleveland for Game 3 on Saturday night. We're going to get you ready starting at 7:30 with Celtics pregame live. It is presented by TD Bank. And remember, you can stream our coverage of the Celtics on the NBC Sports app and NBCSportsBoston.com. The Boston Celtics live stream is presented by Nissan.